Welcome to Talk to the Experts for the next half hour. What you need to know about Wayne Elliott, a gentleman who you're about to meet, a man whose life was saved by a friendship he developed with Jim Strauss, inventor of Strauss Heart Drops. Good morning, Wayne. How are you?
Oh, he's well. Thank you, Greg. How are you?
I'm all right. You look well. These are some difficult challenges we're going through right now and lots of anxiety. And you found relief over the years thanks to your friendship with, as I mentioned, Jim. But today, what are we going to talk about?
Well, the Strauss Heart Drops is what you're referring to, Greg. And about 23 years ago, my life was, my opinion, saved and then changed forever with this wonderful natural product. And a good friend of mine that had moved to British Columbia with his wife and family had a heart attack, and he took these Strauss Heart Drops, and they canceled his bypass heart surgery, and he was telling me about it. Well, about 6 months before that, I had just read in the papers, the Harvard Medical Center, Harvard Medical School, had just done a study, and that the earlobe crease, that's a line or a crease on the bottom of our ears, on the little fatty part, is not only the best indicator of clogged arteries, it's better than all the other indicators put together, Greg. Cholesterol, triglycerides, smoking, obesity, hereditary, environment. All of those together weren't the indicator. The earlobe crease was. And, of course, I'd been suffering angina symptoms at that point for 4 or 5 years, and had developed an irregular heartbeat. And so when I read this, I went right to the mirror. Sure enough, crease on both earlobes. That meant, according to this study, both sides of my body arteries were clogged. If people wanted to Google more about that, apparently they call it Frank's crease. The man's name Frank's crease. Well, since then, of course, Denmark did a very extensive study and came up with the same results, that the earlobe crease is the best indicator of clogged arteries. So I then started to make plans, but it wasn't for much of a future, Greg. I made plans that, was going to happen to me, that happened to so many in my family. Only I think I thought I was going to be the youngest ever. A lot of people had trouble getting past 50 in my family. 58, 59 was the next challenging age level. Aunts, uncles, cousins, grandmas, grandpas. So I made plans that I was going to, unfortunately, join their ranks. And when my friend Ted called me and told me about these heart drops, boy, oh boy, I had such hope. Well, I called out to the Strauss Company in Kamloops, BC, talked to a very nice lady for an hour, and had her express me a bottle. Well, and I wanted them so badly to work, Greg, I can't tell you, because I had all the angina symptoms, chest pinches and pains, shortness of breath, leg cramps, night sweats, and I'd made excuses for everyone. I used to be an athlete. I made excuses for everyone except those night sweats I couldn't find an excuse for. In the wintertime, I'd have the window over my bed cracked open a couple inches, and I'd still soak the bed every night, sweating. And, of course, angina is clogged arteries, and what usually happens is a heart attack. I had some sort of attack. I assume a heart attack in my front yard at one of my boys' birthday parties. We were having a football catching contest like we always did, and bang, and down I went. I just saw white for, I'm not sure, Greg, 30 seconds, 1 minute, I have no idea. When I opened when I could see again, I had no pain. And I survived about 7 more years till I found the Strauss Heart Drops, which makes me think I was meant to talk about it as I do. I've never shut up about it since.
Well, you're passionate.
Anyway, oh boy, I'll tell you. Well, of course, the experience that I've had with them, Greg, because after taking them for 5 months, I met Jim Strauss and liked him very much. We became very close, but he taught me everything about nature. I was an environmentalist. I'm a recycler by trade. That's how I make my living always. And he taught me about nature and how our bodies work, and just a fascinating man. He was like an uncle to me, and I was so blessed to have him live with me a month at a time. I guess twice a year, sometimes 3 times a year, over the course of 5 years. So we spent a lot of time together. When I got these heart drops, Greg, I started taking them. I didn't want to leave them anywhere, so I forget them, in an office or a car or a yard. So I kept them on my bathroom sink. And instead of taking them 3 times a day, like they tell you should, I took them at the start and finish of my day. But I did take more than the minimum dose, so that I was taking at least as much as someone who took the 3 doses a day.
Wow.
And the very first thing I noticed was the hearing returned to my left ear. That was about 2 weeks, and I was shocked. Never dreamed cholesterol had anything to do with my hearing loss. I've run cranes and been in yards with heavy equipment and listened to as much music when I was young as the next guy, played football and got banged around. So I never thought it was cholesterol. So when the hearing came back to my left ear, that was a really pleasant, shocking surprise. After about 5-6 weeks, Greg, just before I was ready to order another bottle, my breathing began to clear because I spit out a lot of stuff over the course of about 2 weeks. I couldn't even clear my throat without something coming out. And in the end, I didn't wheeze and I could sleep better. And at that point, the energy really began to increase for me. Everyone's different. Some people notice things much quicker, but they also know today from studies and their own experience in the business, the Strauss people, that had I taken more, had the dose been higher, I could have been better faster. That's what we know now. So they've raised the dosage. In any event, when my energy began to increase, it's truly hard to explain to anyone what this is like. And I thought I was Superman, truly, Greg, by the 5th month. I hadn't felt so good in a long time. My breathing, everything was better. And that continued, of course, over the year that I slowly dissolved plaque using the Strauss heart drops. I took blood tests about every 3 months. I'm not a fan. I sure don't abuse our health system because it frightens me, truthfully. I don't use chemical drugs or pills. But I did go for the blood test to see what my cholesterol was doing. And my cholesterol almost tripled for a year, the blood cholesterol level. Well, there's no danger. I want to tell everyone, when it's floating in your blood, there's no danger. It's not restricting your blood flow. When it's stuck somewhere, like in my arteries, that's when I was in danger. So, and it has to float in your blood, even waste cholesterol that heart drops have dissolved, or any other waste, because it's the only transportation system in our bodies, Greg. There is only our blood system. So if it's blocked, restricted, partially blocked, we are going to have trouble somewhere in our body, wherever that blockage is, and affects the 2 most common, heart attack and stroke, or heart attack and brain attack from lack of oxygen, because the blood carries that too, along with the food, the water, the wastewater. It's the only highway. So my blood cholesterol level, to my doctor's shock and chagrin, almost tripled for a year. Went from 3.0 to 8.1. And
unbelievable.
I felt like $1 million. I felt like $1 million, that's for sure. And I tried to get my doctor to take it because he didn't look so well. He was a great man, the greatest bedside manner, this gentleman from Port Colborne. And he wouldn't take it. He couldn't get his head around it. And he ended up having a heart attack. Unfortunately, we don't have him as a great doctor anymore. But anyhow, I wasn't afraid because I felt like I felt when I played football. I felt great. And about the 16 or 18 month mark, Greg, when I had a blood test, my cholesterol was down to 4.5. That meant to me and to Jim Strauss, you see, you're getting closer to being cleaned out. There's less of it being dissolved now. And then my blood test after that, I was 3.0 for what they would say is normal or perfect. And coincidentally, Greg, when I started and wasn't well, my blood cholesterol level was 3.0 because it wasn't floating in my blood. My body wasn't working as it was supposed to. I was clogged up with plaque. And so that's why 8 out of 10 heart attack victims have low blood cholesterol. And yet who do they treat? They treat people with high blood cholesterol. So that's known as the cholesterol myth, Greg, amongst many.
All right.
And
Wayne, we got to take a break here. And when we come back, when we come back, I want to discuss, what goes into it, because it's all natural and it's lasting effects. It's incredible. I've got Wayne Elliott. Talk to the Experts is back in a couple. Thanks for listening to Talk to the Experts. We're back now with Wayne Elliott, who is a good friend of Jim Strauss, the inventor of Strauss Heart Drops. And we've heard from Wayne how he got to the point where it turned his life around, changed your healthy lifestyle, and had amazing effects on your cholesterol and your body. And it's so great for heart disease. You're claiming that your heart has never ticked better. Is that right, Wayne?
I'll tell you something, Greg. At 66 years old, if somebody was dumb enough to give me a helmet, I'd probably go out there and try and play. I feel better than I felt at 40. And, I'm just so grateful for that. I mean, I've lived all this time, a healthy life. I never took a pill. Nobody ever cut me. I didn't have anything intrusive like an angiogram. I was afraid of it all. And thank God for these Strauss Heart Drops. And of course, I was Eastern Canadian distributor way back then. About 20 years ago, I became Eastern Canadian distributor for 5 years. So, and Jim had taught me. So I did all the radio shows and lectures, and I was lucky, Greg. I met thousands of people and talked with, many, many people, and was the most rewarding experience of my life. And that's why I've never stopped this. I'll talk to anybody about it that's interested and try and encourage them and don't lose hope. I also had anxiety, Greg, not surprising. I didn't know or acknowledge that I had it, but kind of hiding in my bedroom on weekends, hoping the phone didn't ring, certainly hoping nobody knocked on the door. It's not that I didn't want to go out and quarterback for both teams when my boys and their friends would be having a football game. It's just I just didn't have it, and it's, I've said this on a lot of radio programs so that the people that were in the condition I was will know I can relate. It's not that I couldn't do it, Greg. I could have gone out and thrown the football 50 yards. I could have gone out and kicked it a long way. I could have lifted a big weight. But I don't know. You just don't have the will. It's probably lucky I didn't, because I could have had the heart attack. You can't diet or exercise your way to clear arteries. It is scientifically impossible. So, you remember Jim Fix, the famous jogger. How'd he die? Jogging. He had clogged arteries. So, Jim always cautioned folks that for the first 4 or 5 months taking Strauss Heart Drops, even though you will feel that you have the energy and the strength, don't do anything more strenuous than you used to do before you started the Heart Drops. And then Jim would always say, after that, you can go and chase rabbits again.
Wayne Elliott, my guest. And Wayne,
that's what it's like.
Wayne, I want to talk about how natural heart drops are and what goes in them.
100%. Interesting today with the virus and the flus and colds and various things we experience, and there will be more, Greg. History's shown us that there'll be more viruses and flu bugs and so forth, the colds and the single most supportive substance, natural substance on earth for our immune systems is aged garlic extract. That's aged garlic oil. This has been tested and proven over generations and generations and been used for a long time. We tend to think of it now as a lovely spice for those of us who like it on our meat or on the seafood or salads. If you like garlic, it's a wonderful a spice. But it truly is the best substance for our immune system on earth. And when I was, of course, the main ingredient in Strauss Heart Drops is aged garlic extract, and it is aged to the absolute perfect day that it is at its most beneficial. The Strausses just had the greatest craft in the world to do their formulating, and so it's a very good thing to take all the time to support your immune system, Greg. There's no doubt about that. That's not the main purpose, of course. It's like Drano for your blood system to dissolve the plaque, cholesterol, and calcium that may have built up, restricting your blood flow. And what's in it is, of course, the main ingredient, aged garlic extract, in perfect proportion with cayenne pepper, maybe nature's one of top 3 medicinal herbs, cayenne pepper along with garlic, onions, lemons, and green cabbage. That would be your top 5, I believe. But cayenne pepper is the second ingredient. Hawthorn berries and leaves, known for generations in Europe. They're in all the heart healthy cereals and food goods. Bilberry, motherwort, European mistletoe, which is not toxic to humans. It's beneficial. And white willow bark, nature's aspirin. It's what they put in the chemical aspirin for pain relief. I'm not sure why the chemicals are added that hurt our stomachs, but all I've taken for 23 years is white willow bark, and it's wonderful. It doesn't hurt your stomach. So that's what's in Heart Drops. Jim always said you need the right ingredients, Greg, in the perfect proportion, just like your mother or a chef making you a nice meal or a great soup. You know, they taste it before they serve it because maybe it needs a pinch of salt or something else. Well, the Strauss family craft was the same. Using a gram scale and by taste, they put their formulas together. And Jim and his son Peter, the 8th generation herbalist and my good friend, they formulated the Heart Drops for Jim 40 years ago after a massive heart attack. And so it's just a wonderful product. They came out with in February again by popular demand their Strauss kidney blood pressure formula. I took that 22 years ago, Greg, for high blood pressure. Haven't had high blood pressure since, but now that it's available, I got 3 bottles, and I'm going to take them as a cleanse. I find it amazing. You know, I was in the hospital for a scope in December, and I was nervous. I don't like it there. I asked them not to give me the sedation. They did anyway eventually, but so I was nervous, and my blood pressure was 120/70. I took it 22 years ago. So I'm doing that again now, and the Cardio Calm is back. That's for damaged heart cells and irregular heartbeat. And I was so grateful 21 or 2 years ago when I no longer had an irregular heartbeat because I felt every single race beat. It drove me crazy around the clock. It never stopped over those years. And I haven't had an irregular beat since, Greg, 20 years later, but I'm also taking a treatment of that, 3 bottles. So those are treatments.
Wow.
These aren't supplements you stay on forever. It's for most of us, 3 bottles, 3 months. My friend Joe, he was 5 months for both the blood pressure and the arrhythmia, but he was really in horrible, horrible health condition.
Every condition is different. If someone listening right now wants to change their life with Heart Drops, where do they go?
Most all health stores in Canada sell Strauss products. For more information, you can contact the company at Strauss, STRAUSS, StraussNaturals.ca, or the telephone number for folks that don't use the computer is toll-free at 866-478-2873. That's 866-478-2873, or Strauss, STRAUSS, naturals.ca. They've got some fine ladies there in customer service, Greg.
Awesome.
To answer your calls or your emails. And I really hope folks listening that think they might be in need, diabetics especially, as well, blood flow, circulation is their big issue and what they need to defend against.
It sounds...
Strauss guaranteed, and there's no contraindication with any pharmaceuticals, as Health Canada determined over 20 years ago, Greg. So I hope
Wayne,
folks give it to themselves and start feeling better today.
Wayne Elliott, I appreciate it. This has been Talk to the Experts. I'm Greg Morgan.